In the marble halls of Manhattan's most powerful family, 16-year-old Serafina Rothschild hasn't spoken a single word in 10 years. Not one. Doctors call it selective mutism. Psychiatrists blame trauma. But when 18-year-old Ezra Thompson, a poor black kid from the Bronx, walks through her mansion doors as her new companion, everything changes. "She's defective," Victoria Rothschild tells the social worker with disgust. 10 years of the world's best specialists, and nothing. Maybe someone from his background can reach her damaged mind. The staff whispers cruel jokes. What's next? Hiring janitors as therapists? But they don't see what Ezra sees in Serafina's eyes. Not emptiness, but terror. Not sickness, but secrets. Because some silences protect more than just feelings. Some silences protect lives. When Serafina finally speaks her first words in a decade, they'll expose a conspiracy so deadly that 2 fathers had to die to keep it buried. Ezra Thompson sleeps on a mattress on the floor of a Bronx apartment where cockroaches scurry past his head and gunshots echo through paper-thin walls. At 18, he's the man of the house. 3 younger siblings, a dying mother, and bills that never stop coming. His calloused hands tell the story. Dishwasher at dawn, security guard at night, whatever it takes to keep the lights on. "You got special skills, baby," his mother whispers from her hospital bed, cancer eating away at her body while they can't afford treatment. "You see things others don't. Always have, since you were small." She's right. Foster care taught Ezra to read faces like survival manuals. A twitch means violence coming. A certain smile means lies. A look away means danger. When you're a black kid bouncing between homes where some families see you as a paycheck and others see you as a threat, you learn to decode human emotions, or you don't survive. The social services office smells like desperation and broken dreams. Ms. Carter, a tired woman with kind eyes, slides a folder across her scratched desk. Companion position, rich family on the Upper East Side, $2,000 a week to babysit a girl who doesn't talk. "What's wrong with her?" Ezra asks, already calculating how many of his mother's medical bills that money could cover. Nothing, according to her stepmother. Everything, according to everyone else. The Rothschilds have tried every specialist in the world. Now they want to try unconventional methods. Ms. Carter doesn't say what they both understand. They want to try someone expendable. The Rothschild estate rises from Fifth Avenue like a monument to old money and older secrets. 30 rooms, 12 bathrooms, and staff who move like ghosts through halls lined with paintings worth more than Ezra's neighborhood. Victoria Rothschild greets him at the service entrance, not the front door, never the front door for people like him. "You'll address me as Mrs. Rothschild," she says, looking at him like he's something unpleasant she stepped in. "You'll use the service elevator, you'll eat in the kitchen with the other help, and you will not, under any circumstances, fill that girl's head with ideas above her station. She's damaged enough without your influence." The word influence drips with so much contempt that Ezra's jaw clenches. But he thinks of his mother's medical bills and swallows his pride. Head butler Harrison, a thin man with dead eyes, leads Ezra through a maze of marble corridors. "The girl sits in her room all day drawing pictures that make no sense," he explains with obvious distaste. "Sometimes she has episodes, screaming fits, but no words. 10 years of that nonsense. Her stepmother's patience is wearing thin." "What happened to her real mother?" Ezra asks. Harrison's steps falter slightly. "Dead. Long time ago. Natural causes." The lie sits heavy in the air between them. Serafina's room could house Ezra's entire family. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook Central Park, but heavy curtains keep the sunlight out. She sits at an antique desk, hunched over a sketch pad, her blonde hair falling like a curtain around her face. When Ezra enters, she doesn't look up, but her pencil stops moving. Hey, he says softly, the way he used to talk to scared kids in foster care. I'm Ezra. No response. But her shoulders tense, and Ezra notices something the fancy doctors probably missed. She's not drawing randomly. Every line is deliberate, purposeful. The sketch shows shadowy figures around what looks like a man falling, but the perspective is wrong, like a child's memory of something terrible. Do you mind if I sit? He doesn't wait for permission, settling cross-legged on the Persian rug. I used to draw too when I couldn't find words. Sometimes pictures say things voices can't. For the first time, Serafina glances at him. Her eyes are blue like winter sky, but they hold something that makes Ezra's street-sharpened instincts scream danger. She's not broken. She's terrified. And in that split second of connection, Ezra understands why every specialist has failed. They've been trying to fix someone who isn't sick. They've been trying to heal someone who's been protecting herself the only way she knows how. Serafina returns to her drawing, but something has changed. The pencil moves differently now, more urgently, as if his presence has awakened something that's been sleeping for 10 years. The racism starts immediately, dripping like poison through every interaction. At breakfast, cook Maria Rodriguez sets a plate in the kitchen corner while the other staff eat at the main table. That's your spot, Harrison announces with a thin smile. We maintain order in this house. When Ezra reaches for orange juice from the main pitcher, Harrison's hand stops him. Staff juice is in the refrigerator, different container. The message is clear. Even among servants, there's hierarchy, and black boys from the Bronx rank at the bottom. The cruelty escalates during Victoria's dinner party. Manhattan's elite fill the dining room, their laughter echoing off crystal and silver while Ezra serves appetizers. Victoria's voice cuts through the conversation like a blade. Our latest experiment, she announces to her guests, gesturing at Ezra with her wineglass. They breed them tough in the ghetto, don't they? Street instincts where civilization failed. Perhaps what our precious daughter needs isn't another Harvard psychiatrist, but something more primitive. The guests laugh, the sound sharp and ugly. Senator Morrison, a fat man with dead eyes, grins wide. Brilliant, Victoria. Sometimes you need a junkyard dog to reach a rabid animal. Careful, though, Judge Hartwell adds between sips of $1,000 wine. You know how they are. Give them an inch, they'll steal everything that isn't nailed down. Ezra's hands shake as he refills water glasses. Every instinct screams at him to speak, to defend himself, to shatter their comfortable racism with words that would cut deep. But his mother's face appears in his mind, pale, weak, fighting cancer they can't afford to treat. He swallows the rage and keeps serving. Upstairs, Serafina sits at her window, watching the dinner party through the glass. Her pencil moves frantically across her pad, sketching the same shadowy figures over and over. When she sees Ezra being humiliated, something flickers across her face, not pity, but recognition. She knows what it feels like to be powerless. The psychological warfare intensifies daily. Security guard Webb, a mountain of muscle with dead shark eyes, begins following Ezra everywhere. Can't be too careful, he explains with a cold smile. Your kind has a reputation. When Ezra asks for medical supplies to treat his mother, head housekeeper Mrs. Patterson shakes her head with mock sympathy. Oh, honey, we can't have staff stealing medications. Insurance liability, you understand. Surely someone like you knows about creative ways to get what you need. The accusation hangs in the air like a noose. But the worst comes during Serafina's therapy session with Dr. Blackwood, Manhattan's most expensive psychiatrist. Victoria insists Ezra observe to learn proper techniques, but really to watch him be put in his place. The subject shows no improvement, Dr. Blackwood announces, studying Serafina like a lab specimen. 10 years of selective mutism following parental trauma. classic case of a privileged child unable to cope with loss. Serafina sits motionless, but Ezra notices her hands clenched white-knuckle tight in her lap. She's not catatonic. She's controlling herself with enormous effort. "Perhaps," Victoria suggests sweetly, "our young friend here could share his expertise. Surely growing up around violence gives him insight into traumatized minds." Dr. Blackwood chuckles condescendingly. "Mrs. Rothschild, while I appreciate unconventional approaches, this young man lacks even basic education in psychological principles. Trauma response requires understanding of neural pathways, not street corner wisdom." "Of course," Victoria agrees, her smile venomous. "How silly of me to think someone from his background could contribute anything meaningful to civilized discussion." Ezra watches Serafina's reaction. Her breathing quickens almost imperceptibly, and he realizes something the experts miss. She's not responding to their words about her. She's responding to their words about him. The cruelty toward Ezra is triggering something deeper. That night, Ezra finds Serafina in the library, surrounded by scattered drawings. For the first time, she looks directly at him, and he sees tears streaming down her face. She holds up a sketch, the same shadowy figures, but now he can make out details. A man in an expensive suit, a young girl hiding, and blood pooling on marble floors. "You remember something, don't you?" he whispers. "Something they don't want you to remember." Serafina's pencil moves with desperate urgency. She draws a new image, a black man in a police uniform falling beside a car. The license plate numbers match the night her father died. Ezra's blood turns to ice. She's drawn to his father's death scene. Before he can process this fully, Webb appears in the doorway like a predator smelling blood. "What's going on here?" His voice carries a threat. Serafina quickly shuffles her drawings together, but not before Webb sees. His eyes narrow dangerously. "Mrs. Rothschild needs to see those pictures." "They're just drawings," Ezra says, stepping between Webb and Serafina. Webb's smile is all teeth and no warmth. "Boy, you're forgetting your place. Around here, we don't let the help decide what's important." He reaches for the drawings, but Serafina clutches them to her chest, shaking her head frantically. It's the most emotion anyone has seen from her in years. "Interesting," Webb murmurs, pulling out his phone. "Mrs. Rothschild will want to know what her daughter is having, reactions to your presence." Within minutes, Victoria appears with Dr. Blackwood in tow. "What exactly did you do to agitate my daughter?" she demands, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "Nothing," Ezra replies truthfully. "She was drawing when I found her." Victoria snatches the drawings from Serafina's hands. The girl's mouth opens in a silent scream of protest, but no sound emerges. Victoria studies the sketches, and for just a moment, her mask slips. Fear flashes across her face before the cold control returns. "Meaningless scribbles," she announces, but her hands shake as she feeds the drawings into the library fireplace. "Dr. Blackwood, perhaps our experiment has run its course. This boy is clearly having a disturbing influence." As the drawings burn, Serafina's tears fall harder. She reaches toward the flames, but Victoria grabs her wrist. "Enough dramatics, dear. These fantasies won't bring your father back." Ezra watches the flames consume evidence of something important, something connected to both their fathers' deaths. Serafina meets his eyes across the room, and in that moment, he understands. She's not just protecting herself with her silence. She's protecting him, too. Ezra changes his approach completely. Instead of trying to make Serafina speak, he begins speaking for her, translating the emotions he reads in her body language back to her like a mirror. "Your shoulders are up near your ears," he observes quietly during their morning session. "That's fear talking. Your hands keep clenching. Anger. But your eyes are saying you remember something specific." For the first time in weeks, Serafina's pencil stops moving. She looks at him with surprise, as if no one has ever truly seen her before. I learned to read people in foster care, Ezra explains, settling into the chair beside her desk. When you're a black kid bouncing between homes, you learn real quick that survival means understanding what adults are really thinking, not just what they're saying. Serafina's breathing slows. She reaches for a fresh piece of paper and begins drawing, but this time it's different. Instead of the chaotic, scrambled images, she draws with deliberate precision. A clock showing 11:47, a man in a specific type of expensive watch, architectural details of the foyer. You're not just remembering, Ezra realizes. You're recording, like evidence. A tiny nod. The first clear response she's given anyone in years. Over the following days, Ezra deciphers the code hidden in Serafina's drawings. Each seemingly random sketch contains specific details, timestamps, clothing descriptions, overheard conversations. She's been documenting everything for 10 years, creating a visual language that only she understands. This watch here, Ezra points to a detailed drawing of an expensive timepiece. I've seen it before. Webb wears one exactly like it. Serafina's pencil freezes. She stares at Ezra with wide eyes, then quickly flips through her sketch pad to an earlier drawing. The same watch on the wrist of the shadowy figure standing over her father's body. The realization hits Ezra like a physical blow. Webb killed your father. Another small nod, but this one comes with tears streaming down her face. And that night, something else happened. Ezra continues, remembering her drawing of the police officer. My father, Detective Michael Thompson. He died in a car crash the same night your father was murdered. Serafina's hand shakes as she draws a new image. Two stick figures, a man in a police uniform and a man in a business suit, shaking hands. Below them, she draws the same shadowy figure watching from a distance. They were working together, Ezra whispers. Your father and mine. That's why they both had to die. The truth crystallizes with terrifying clarity. Detective Michael Thompson wasn't just investigating routine corruption. He was working with Jonathan Rothschild to expose something massive, something worth killing for. But their breakthrough is interrupted by Victoria's voice in the hallway, sharp with anger. I don't care what the contract says, I want him gone today. Ms. Carter's voice responds firmly. Mrs. Rothschild, the agreement specifies a minimum 90-day trial period. Ezra has shown more progress with Serafina in 2 weeks than any previous companion. Progress? Victoria's laugh is like breaking glass. You call this progress? She's becoming more agitated, not less. Yesterday I found her having what could only be described as an episode. Serafina grabs Ezra's arm urgently and begins drawing frantically. Stick figures of him running, danger symbols, the shadowy figure with a gun pointed at a young black man. She's trying to warn him that his life is in danger. I understand, Ezra whispers, but I'm not running. We're going to finish what our fathers started. For the first time in 10 years, Serafina's mouth moves, forming a single silent word. No. The word carries no sound, but the intent is clear. She's terrified for him, just as he's becoming determined to protect her. Victoria's heels click closer to the door. Serafina quickly gathers her drawings, but instead of hiding them, she does something that shocks Ezra completely. She tears out a specific page and hands it to him. The drawing showing both their fathers together. It's evidence. Proof that their deaths were connected. Ms. Thompson's companion services will continue as contracted, Victoria announces icily as she enters the room. But with additional supervision, Mr. Webb will be monitoring all interactions for safety purposes. Webb appears behind her like a mountain of menace, his dead eyes focusing on Ezra with predatory intensity. Looking forward to getting to know you better, boy. The threat hangs in the air like smoke from a gun barrel. But as Victoria and Webb leave, Ezra notices something that gives him hope. Serafina reaches into her desk drawer and pulls out a small key. the key to a locked journal she's been keeping hidden. She places it in Ezra's palm and closes his fingers around it. The alliance has formed. Two children of murdered fathers, united by a decade of silence and a thirst for truth that won't be buried any longer. The key unlocks more than just Serafina's journal. It unlocks 10 years of carefully documented evidence hidden behind a false panel in her bedroom closet. Page after page of detailed drawings showing money exchanges, secret meetings, and faces Ezra recognizes from Victoria's dinner parties. Politicians, judges, police commissioners, all connected to something much bigger than a simple murder. "Jesus Christ," Ezra whispers, studying a drawing of Victoria handing thick envelopes to Senator Morrison. "Your stepmother's been buying half the city." But the most damning evidence is a series of sketches showing Victoria meeting with Webb the night before the murders. In precise detail, Serafina has drawn her stepmother pointing to photographs of both Jonathan Rothschild and Detective Michael Thompson, then sliding a briefcase across a table. Ezra's street instincts, honed by years of survival, kick into overdrive. Using his janitorial access to move freely through the mansion, he begins his own investigation. Late at night, when the family sleeps, he searches Victoria's private office with the skills learned in foster homes, where finding hidden money or drugs meant the difference between safety and danger. In Victoria's desk, behind tax documents and charity paperwork, he finds a burner phone. The text messages make his blood run cold. 2 problems were eliminated successfully. Payment received. A new problem emerged. Boy getting too close. Handle it quietly. No connections to family. The final message is from just yesterday. Boy has to go. Make it look like gang violence. Ezra photographs everything with his phone, but as he closes the drawer, footsteps echo in the hallway. Webb's voice carries through the door as he speaks to another security guard. "Kid's been asking too many questions. Mrs. Rothschild wants him gone, but it has to look natural. Street punk from the Bronx? Happens every day." Ezra barely escapes through the service stairs, his heart hammering against his ribs. They're planning to kill him, just like they killed his father. But Victoria underestimates both Ezra's intelligence and Serafina's courage. The next morning, Serafina does something unprecedented. She speaks. Not loudly, not clearly, but the word escapes her lips like a prayer. Dangerous. The staff gathered for breakfast and stopped mid-conversation. Mrs. Patterson drops her coffee cup. Even Victoria, entering the kitchen at that moment, freezes in shock. "What did you say?" Victoria's voice carries a tremor she can't hide. Serafina looks directly at Ezra, her blue eyes fierce with determination, and speaks again, stronger this time. "He's in danger." The words land like bombs in the kitchen silence. For 10 years, the world's most expensive doctors couldn't get a single word from Serafina Rothschild. Now she's speaking to protect a boy they consider beneath their notice. Victoria's mask of concern doesn't hide the panic in her eyes. "Serafina, darling, you're confused. Ezra is perfectly safe here. You're just having another episode." But Serafina shakes her head violently and grabs Ezra's hand. For the first time in a decade, she's making physical contact with another human being, clinging to him like a lifeline. "No," she whispers, and the word carries 10 years of suppressed rage. No more lies. Victoria signals Webb with a barely perceptible nod. The message is clear. Eliminate the problem before it grows larger. That afternoon, while Ezra is walking to the corner store for his mother's medication, Webb's plan unfolds. 3 men in hoodies approach him on the empty street, the kind of staged robbery that happens to young black men every day in New York, the kind where the victim accidentally dies and no one asks too many questions. But Ezra's foster care experience taught him more than just reading emotions. It taught him how to fight dirty, how to survive when the odds are stacked against him. When the first attacker lunges with a knife, Ezra moves like water, using the man's momentum to send him crashing into a parked car. The second man swings a baseball bat, but Ezra ducks and drives his elbow into the attacker's solar plexus, dropping him gasping to the asphalt. The third man reaches for a gun, but Ezra's already moving, grabbing a loose brick from the construction site beside them and hurling it with deadly accuracy. As sirens wail in the distance, someone called 911. Webb's hired thugs flee, leaving behind only their weapons and Ezra's certainty that Victoria wants him dead. But Ezra doesn't run. Instead, he does something that surprises even himself. He calls Detective Sarah Martinez, his father's former partner, the one cop who never believed the official story about Detective Thompson's death. "Detective Martinez, this is Michael Thompson's son. I think it's time we talked." The meeting happens in a diner in Queens, far from Manhattan's power corridors. Detective Martinez, a tough Latina woman with intelligent eyes and premature gray hair, studies the evidence Ezra has gathered. Photos of Victoria's burner phone, Serafina's drawings, documentation of the connected murders. "Your father was my partner for 6 years, she tells Ezra, her voice heavy with old grief. "He was investigating a money laundering operation through the Rothschild Charity Foundation. Millions of dollars meant for orphanages and hospitals diverted to offshore accounts. When he got too close to proof, they killed him," Ezra finishes. "Made it look like a drunk driving accident. I knew it was bullshit, but without evidence." She trails off, studying Serafina's drawings. "But this changes everything. If the girl saw the murder, if she can testify—" "She's starting to speak," Ezra says. "But Victoria's planning something. Tomorrow there's a family board meeting about Serafina's care. I think they're going to have her declared permanently mentally incompetent." Detective Martinez's face hardens. "Which would make her testimony inadmissible and give Victoria complete control of the estate." "We need Serafina to speak publicly," Ezra realizes, "in front of witnesses who can't be bought or intimidated." "Can you get her to the meeting?" Ezra thinks of the frightened girl who whispered dangerous to save his life, who broke 10 years of silence to protect him from the same fate that claimed their fathers. "Yeah, I can get her there." But as they plan their strategy, Ezra doesn't see Webb sitting 3 booths away, photographing their meeting with a telephoto lens. By the time he returns to the mansion, Victoria already knows about his alliance with Detective Martinez. The final confrontation is coming, and Victoria Rothschild is done playing games. The confrontation comes at dawn. Victoria storms into Serafina's room with Webb and 2 other security guards, finding Ezra helping her practice speaking simple sentences. The rage on Victoria's face is terrifying, the mask of civility completely dropped. "You stupid, arrogant boy," she hisses at Ezra. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out about your little meeting with Detective Martinez?" She throws photographs on the bed, images of Ezra and the detective talking in the diner. "You're just like your father, too stubborn to know when to quit." Serafina's eyes widened with sudden understanding. "Your father?" Her voice is still whisper-soft, but growing stronger with each word. Victoria laughs, the sound sharp and cruel. "Oh, she doesn't know? How delicious. Tell her, Ezra. Tell her exactly who you are." Ezra's throat feels tight, but he forces the words out. "My father was Detective Michael Thompson. He was investigating your stepmother's crimes when she had him killed." The revelation hits Serafina like a physical blow. She stares at Ezra, then at Victoria, pieces clicking into place in her brilliant mind. "The same night?" "The same night your father died," Ezra confirms. "They were working together. That's why they both had to die." But Victoria's smile grows wider, more vicious. "Such a touching reunion. The children of 2 dead heroes. But you're missing the best part of the story." She signals Webb, who produces a thick manila folder. "Your father wasn't just a corrupt cop taking bribes, Ezra. He was something much worse." "Yea." Webb opens the folder, revealing police reports and newspaper clippings. Detective Michael Thompson was under investigation by Internal Affairs for evidence tampering, witness intimidation, and taking payments from drug dealers. He wasn't a hero, boy. He was dirty as they came. "You're lying," Ezra says, but his voice wavers. "Am I?" Victoria's eyes glitter with malicious pleasure. "Your precious father was about to be arrested when he died. The car accident saved him from prison and saved his family from shame. We did you a favor." Serafina suddenly grabs Ezra's hand, squeezing tight. Her voice grows stronger, fueled by righteous anger. "No, she's lying. I saw the real meeting." Victoria's confidence falters slightly. "Serafina, you were 6 years old. You didn't understand what you saw." But Serafina reaches under her mattress and pulls out one final hidden journal, her most precious secret. The pages contain her earliest drawings, crude but detailed, showing the true sequence of events from that terrible night. "Daddy was scared," she says, her voice growing clearer with each word. "He found out about the missing money. Victoria was stealing from the children's charity." The drawings show Jonathan Rothschild discovering bank records, confronting Victoria, threatening to call the police. They show Victoria making frantic phone calls, meeting with Webb, paying him to eliminate the threat. "Detective Thompson came to help," Serafina continues, her 10 years of silence breaking like a dam. "Daddy called him because he trusted him. They were going to expose everything together." Ezra stares at the drawings, seeing the truth his father died for. Detective Michael Thompson wasn't corrupt. He was the one honest cop willing to take down a powerful family's criminal empire. Victoria's face has gone white. "Serafina, stop this nonsense. This. You're confused, traumatized. These are just fantasies." "I remember everything." Serafina's voice explodes from her throat, 10 years of suppressed truth erupting at once. "You killed my daddy! You killed Ezra's daddy! You stole money meant for sick children!" Webb steps forward threateningly, but Serafina doesn't flinch. The frightened little girl is gone, replaced by a young woman who's found her power. "I remember your voice," she tells Victoria, her words clear and strong. "I remember you telling Webb exactly how to do it. I remember you counting money while Daddy died on our floor." Victoria's composure cracks completely. "You little bitch, do you have any idea what you're destroying? This family's legacy, our position in society, built on blood money," Serafina finishes, "built on murdered fathers and stolen charity funds." Ezra feels a surge of pride for this brave girl who chose to break her silence to defend his father's honor. But he also knows they're in immediate danger. Victoria's desperation makes her infinitely more dangerous. "Webb," Victoria says quietly, her voice deadly calm. "Handle them both. Make it look like a murder-suicide. The traumatized girl finally snaps, kills her companion, then herself." Webb draws his gun, but as he raises it, Serafina does something extraordinary. She looks directly at the security camera in her room and speaks clearly, loudly enough for the recording to capture every word. "My name is Serafina Rothschild, and I'm about to be murdered by my stepmother Victoria and her security chief Vincent Webb, just like they murdered my father Jonathan Rothschild and Detective Michael Thompson 10 years ago." The gun in Webb's hand gleams under the crystal chandelier as he calculates the kill shots. But Serafina's words to the security camera have changed everything. Somewhere in this mansion, her testimony is being recorded, and Victoria knows it. "Shut off the cameras!" Victoria hisses to Webb. "Now!" "Too late," Serafina says with newfound strength. "The system automatically uploads to the cloud storage. Daddy installed it for security." Victoria's face contorts with rage. She's spent 10 years building her empire on silence and secrets, and now it's all crumbling because a traumatized girl found her voice. But Webb isn't finished. "Cloud storage can be deleted," he growls, raising the gun toward Serafina. "Dead girls don't give testimony." Ezra moves without thinking, his foster care survival instincts taking over. He lunges forward, grabbing Webb's gun arm just as the weapon fires. The bullet shatters the window instead of Serafina's skull, sending glass cascading like deadly rain across the Persian rug. The fight that follows is brutal and desperate. Webb outweighs Ezra by 60 pounds and has military training, but Ezra has something the security chief lacks: the desperate strength of someone fighting for more than just his own life. Every punch he throws carries the memory of his father's death. Every dodge represents his determination to protect Serafina. Webb slams Ezra against the marble wall, stars exploding across his vision. "You should have stayed in the ghetto where you belong, boy, just like your daddy should have minded his own business." The racial slur hangs in the air like poison, but it only fuels Ezra's rage. He uses Webb's momentum against him, dropping low and driving his shoulder into the bigger man's midsection, sending them both crashing through the antique furniture. Wood splinters and crystal shatters as they roll across the floor, fighting for control of the gun. "Your father squealed like a pig when the car hit him," Webb taunts between punches. "Begged for his life right before the flames started." The words hit Ezra like physical blows, but instead of breaking his spirit, they crystallize his purpose. This monster destroyed his family, stole his childhood, condemned his mother to die slowly from poverty and untreated illness, all for Victoria's greed. Meanwhile, Victoria grabs Serafina, pressing a letter opener against her throat. "Enough!" she screams. "Drop the gun or I'll cut her throat right now!" The fighting stops. Webb and Ezra freeze, both breathing hard, blood streaming from multiple cuts, the gun between them on the floor. Victoria's desperation has made her completely unhinged. The sophisticated socialite replaced by a cornered animal willing to kill a child. "You think you're so smart," Victoria snarls at Serafina, the blade drawing a thin line of blood. "You think you can destroy everything I've built? I've killed judges, prosecutors, witnesses. I've killed for less than what you're trying to take from me." But Serafina doesn't show fear. Instead, her voice grows stronger, clearer, as if 10 years of silence has given her words supernatural power. The board meeting starts in 20 minutes. They're expecting me to give testimony about my mental state. If I don't appear, they'll know why. Victoria's eyes narrow dangerously. "You're not going anywhere. Ever again." Suddenly, car doors slam outside. Through the broken window, black SUVs are visible on Fifth Avenue, FBI logos gleaming in the morning sun. "Yes, she is." The voice comes from the doorway where Detective Martinez stands with 3 FBI agents, guns drawn. "NYPD, FBI, drop your weapons now." Webb's face goes dead calm, the look of a professional killer calculating odds. "You're too late, cops. They're already dead." He dives for the gun on the floor, rolling toward the window. Ezra lunges after him, and they crash through the remaining glass in a shower of crystal shards, landing hard on the stone balcony overlooking Fifth Avenue. 30 feet below, morning traffic moves like ants. Pedestrians point and scream at the 2 figures fighting for their lives on the mansion balcony. Webb raises the gun, his finger tightening on the trigger, but Ezra fights with the fury of someone who's lost everything once and refuses to lose again. "This is for my father, you piece of shit!" Ezra grabs Webb's wrist, slamming it against the stone railing until bones crack and the gun spins away into space, clattering to the street below. "Your father was just the beginning," Webb gasps, trying to throw Ezra over the balcony. "Corrupt cops, bleeding heart rich boys, street trash like you. I've killed them all, and I enjoyed every fucking minute." But Ezra's street fighting skills, learned in foster homes and honed in survival, prove superior to Webb's brute force. A knee to the solar plexus doubles Webb over, and a perfectly timed uppercut sends the killer crashing backward into the mansion wall, where he slides down unconscious, his head leaving a streak of blood on the white stone. Inside, Victoria still holds the letter opener to Serafina's throat, but her hands shake with desperation. "You don't understand what you're destroying," she screams at the FBI agents. "This family has power, connections. I own half the judges in this city. Senator Morrison, Judge Hartwell, Commissioner Walsh, they're all mine." "Not anymore," Detective Martinez says calmly, holding up Victoria's burner phone. "Your text messages, the financial documents, witness testimony from your household staff, and now Serafina's recorded statement. It's over, Victoria." But Victoria's grip on reality has snapped completely. The carefully constructed facade of the grieving stepmother disappears entirely, replaced by pure, murderous rage. "I won't let some brain-damaged brat and a ghetto rat destroy my life," she shrieks. "Do you know what I sacrificed to build this empire? Do you know how many people I had to eliminate?" She raises the letter opener to strike, but Serafina does something that shocks everyone in the room. Instead of cowering, she speaks with absolute clarity and devastating power. "I am Serafina Rothschild, daughter of Jonathan Rothschild, witness to his murder, and survivor of your 10 years of psychological torture. I remember every detail of the night you hired Vincent Webb to kill my father because he discovered your embezzlement of $12 million from children's charities." Her voice grows stronger with each word, 10 years of suppressed truth pouring out like water through a broken dam. "I remember the bank account numbers. Cayman Islands National, account 847291. Switzerland Banking Corp., account 122957. I remember the names of every judge, politician, and police official you've corrupted with that stolen money." The FBI agents stare in amazement as this young woman, supposedly mentally incompetent, delivers testimony with the precision of a trained prosecutor. Every word is clear, every detail specific, every accusation backed by evidence hidden in her drawings for a decade. "I remember you laughing while my father's blood pooled on our marble floor," Serafina continues, her voice rising with righteous fury. "I remember you telling Webb to make Detective Thompson's death look like drunk driving. I remember you threatening to burn me alive if I ever spoke, just like you burned that family in Queens when they wouldn't sell their building." Victoria's face goes white. That last crime was never connected to her, until now. "But most of all," Serafina concludes, looking directly into Victoria's terrified eyes, "I remember promising my father as he lay dying that someday I would find my voice and make sure justice was served. Today is that day." Victoria's hand trembles violently. The letter opener falls from her grip, clattering to the floor. 10 years of maintaining power through fear and violence, and she's been undone by the courage of a traumatized girl who refused to stay silent forever. The FBI agents move in to arrest Victoria, but she makes one final desperate attempt. She lunges for Serafina with her fingernails extended like claws, screaming about ungrateful children and destroyed legacies. Ezra, bleeding from his fight with Webb but still standing, catches Victoria's wrist inches from Serafina's face. "No," he says quietly, his voice carrying all the authority of someone who has fought through hell and emerged victorious. "Your reign of terror ends now." See, as the handcuffs click around Victoria's wrists, she looks around the destroyed room. Shattered furniture, broken windows, blood on the marble floors where her husband died 10 years ago. Her empire of fear and corruption lies in ruins, brought down by the two people she considered most disposable. The handcuffs click shut around Victoria's wrists with a sound like breaking bones. FBI agent Sarah Rodriguez reads the charges while Victoria stands in her destroyed mansion, her empire of lies crumbling around her like the shattered crystal on the floor. "Victoria Rothschild, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, first-degree murder, money laundering, racketeering, and criminal conspiracy. Vincent Webb is facing identical charges plus the murder of Detective Michael Thompson. Victoria's last desperate gambit comes as they lead her toward the door. "You think this ends anything?" she hisses at Serafina and Ezra. "I have friends in the highest places, judges who owe me favors, prosecutors I've bought, politicians whose careers I've funded. This will never see a trial." But Detective Martinez steps forward with a grim smile. "Actually, it will. Your friends started flipping the moment we showed them the evidence. Senator Morrison's already plea bargained. Judge Hartwell resigned this morning. Commissioner Walsh is singing like a canary to save his pension." The color drains from Victoria's face as she realizes the scope of her exposure. Her corruption network, built over decades, is collapsing like a house of cards. Serafina finds her voice one more time, clear and strong. "The children's charity money will be returned to where it belongs. Every family you destroy will get justice. Every life you ruin will be made whole." As the FBI leads Victoria away, she turns back with one final snarl. "You stupid girl. You have no idea what you've unleashed. There are others more powerful than me who won't let this stand." But Ezra steps protectively in front of Serafina, his voice carrying the quiet authority of someone who has faced down killers and survived. "Let them try. We're not scared anymore." Webb regains consciousness just in time to be loaded into a separate FBI vehicle, his face a mask of bruises from his fight with Ezra. The killer who terrorized a family for 10 years now looks small and broken, just another criminal in handcuffs. Detective Martinez approaches Serafina and Ezra as the FBI vehicles disappear down Fifth Avenue. "It's over," she says simply. "The evidence is overwhelming. They'll spend the rest of their lives in federal prison." For the first time in 10 years, Serafina Rothschild smiles. The nightmare that began when she was 6 years old has finally ended. 6 months later, the marble halls of the Rothschild mansion echo with different voices. Instead of whispered conspiracies and racist insults, the sounds are of construction workers removing bloodstains, social workers coordinating relief efforts, and Serafina's clear, confident voice directing the transformation of her family home into the Thompson Rothschild Foundation headquarters. "The main ballroom will become our legal aid center," Serafina explains to the documentary crew filming her story. "Where my stepmother once entertained corrupt judges, will now provide free legal representation to families fighting powerful interests." The foundation has become a beacon of hope for the forgotten and silenced. In 6 months, they exposed 3 other cases of elite family corruption, provided legal support for over 200 families fighting unjust evictions, and established a whistleblower protection program that has encouraged dozens of witnesses to come forward against wealthy criminals. Ezra stands beside her, no longer the scared teenager desperate for work, but a confident young man wearing a Columbia University sweatshirt. His full scholarship to study criminal justice represents more than academic achievement. It's vindication for his father's legacy, and proof that street wisdom combined with education creates an unstoppable force for change. "People ask if I'm angry about losing my childhood to silence," Serafina tells the cameras. "But I've learned that trauma can become power if you choose to use it for justice instead of revenge." Their friendship has evolved into something deeper than shared trauma. They've become partners in a mission to give voice to the voiceless. The hashtag #HourSilence is not golden, inspired by their story, has gone viral with over 2 million shares, encouraging other survivors to speak their truth. The legal aftermath exceeded their wildest expectations. Victoria's corruption network unraveled completely, leading to the resignation or arrest of 47 public officials, including a federal judge, 3 senators, and half the New York Police Department's upper command. The scandal, dubbed Golden Silence by the media, became the largest corruption case in New York history. Victoria Rothschild received life in prison without parole for multiple murders. Webb pleaded guilty to avoid the death penalty and was sentenced to 6 consecutive life terms. During his confession, he revealed the locations of 12 other victims, bringing closure to families who had waited decades for answers. The financial recovery was staggering. Forensic accountants traced $43 million in stolen charity funds, money that was immediately returned to the organizations it was meant to help. Children's hospitals received new wings, orphanages got desperately needed resources, and homeless shelters expanded their capacity. Ezra's mother, Teresa Thompson, received the cancer treatment that saved her life, funded by the Foundation's Medical Assistance Program. "My son didn't just get justice for his father," she told reporters. "He saved his whole family." The personal transformation in both young people is remarkable. Serafina has become a powerful public speaker, testifying before Congress about corruption in wealthy families and traveling to high schools in underserved communities to share her story of finding her voice. Ezra's street wisdom, combined with formal education, has made him a formidable advocate for justice. He's already working with Detective Martinez on cold cases involving suspicious deaths in powerful families using the same pattern recognition skills that saved Serafina's life. Their story inspired new legislation requiring independent oversight of family charitable foundations and mandatory reporting of suspicious deaths among wealthy families. The Rothschild-Thompson Act has been credited with preventing at least 6 planned murders of whistleblowing family members. But perhaps the most powerful change is personal. 2 young people who were broken by violence and racism have rebuilt themselves into symbols of hope. Their foundation's motto, "Silence protects the guilty, truth protects the innocent," appears on billboards across the country. "We can't bring back our fathers," Serafina explains in her TED Talk, which has been viewed 8 million times. "But we can make sure their deaths create something beautiful. We can make sure other children never have to choose between silence and safety." The truth that emerged from that blood-stained mansion reverberates far beyond one family's tragedy. Serafina and Ezra's story proves something profound. The most powerful voices often come from those who have been forced into silence, and the greatest healers are those who have survived the deepest wounds. Their victory wasn't just about exposing corruption or bringing killers to justice. It was about something more fundamental: the unbreakable human spirit that refuses to stay broken, the courage that grows stronger under pressure, and the bond that forms when people see past skin color and class to recognize shared humanity. "Every person watching this has met someone like Ezra," Serafina says in her viral TED Talk finale. "Someone who saw your worth when everyone else overlooked you. Someone who believed in your voice when the world tried to silence you. That person might have been a teacher, a friend, or a stranger who showed unexpected kindness." The statistics are staggering. Their story has inspired over 15,000 people to come forward with testimony against powerful abusers, resulted in the arrest of 230 corrupt officials nationwide, and led to the recovery of over $300 million in stolen charity funds. But the numbers don't capture the real impact. In schools across America, children who felt voiceless have found the courage to speak up against bullying. Abuse survivors have reported their attackers. Workers have exposed corporate corruption. Their story became permission for the powerless to reclaim their power. "Your voice matters more than you know," Ezra tells audiences, his words carrying the authority of someone who fought literal killers and won. "Your truth has the power to shatter systems built on lies. Your courage can save lives you'll never even meet." The movement continues growing. Silence. Is Not Golden has evolved into a global network of survivors supporting each other, sharing resources, and coordinating efforts to expose corruption wherever it hides. Here's your challenge. Think of one truth you've been afraid to speak, one injustice you've witnessed but stayed silent about. One time someone showed you kindness when the world showed you cruelty. Share this story and tag that person who believed in you when no one else would. Like this video if you believe ordinary people can do extraordinary things. Subscribe for more stories that prove your voice has power. Comment below with one word that describes how this story made you feel. Most importantly, if you see someone being overlooked, underestimated, or silenced, be their Ezra. Sometimes the person who needs your voice the most is the one everyone else has stopped listening to. Because remember, silence protects the guilty. Truth protects the innocent. And your voice might be exactly what someone needs to hear today.